Hi everyone, and welcome to episode number 129 of the Karen Knits podcast. My name is Karen, and I'm coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania, where I live, where I work, where I knit, and get into all kinds of other crafting shenanigans. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. It is Saturday, October the 1st, 2022, and it's not a nice day out here at all. It's been raining off and on, mostly on, since late yesterday afternoon, early evening. It started raining. It's rained all night. There's been a few breaks here and there during the day. It's cool, it's damp, it's cold. It's about 51, 52 Fahrenheit, and we're catching the edge of Hurricane Ian. I think that's a lot worse a little farther to the east of us. Closer to the coast, we're a little bit inland, so it's not as bad here, but it's windy, it's rainy, it's dark, and it's cold. It's a good day to be indoors trying to do some knitting, although I was out for a while, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on. So let's get right on to business here. This week I have a finished object, a swatch. I don't do those very often. And I have progress on the work in progress I have going. Nothing new cast on. I'm going to refrain from that because I've got something new to cast on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. So anyways, my finished object, my sort of shorty, although they're not that short, they're actually got a little bit longer, but which is fine. My sort of shorty vanilla autumnal socks. This is a pattern recipe that I have, that it's not a published pattern. It's just a standard basic vanilla pattern. 15 rounds of 1x1 ribbing. The leg in just plain stockinette for however long you want. Typically I do it a little bit shorter. This one I kept going. A slip stitch heel flap, heel turn, standard gusset, on down the foot and stockinette, and then a wedge toe. Nothing fancy, nothing out of the ordinary. For these I cast on 64 stitches and use 2.25 millimeter needles. I think that's the US one, I believe. I think it's the US one. Anyways, 2.25 millimeter needles. The yarn I used, this comes from the same skein, honest and for real. This is yarn I dyed myself, and clearly from one end of the skein, I did these two at a time on magic loop, starting at the cuff, worked my way down, and I took the yarn from the outside and the inside of the cake of yarn, and clearly it's not consistent from one end of the cake of yarn to the other end of the cake of yarn, or the skein of yarn. I don't recall exactly how I dyed this skein. I think I had it done up in a hank, plunked it in the water with dye for a while, pulled it out, let it cool down a bit, undid it, hanked it or coiled it back up again, put it in a different color, and kept doing that over and over and over. I think that's what I did. But clearly the different colors struck different parts of that skein of yarn quite differently, or the hank of yarn quite differently. The darker red colors, the darker brown colors are a lot more dominant at this end of the skein, and we have a lot more of the yellow being more dominant. The orange and red didn't seem to go through quite as strongly. Not as much of the darker browns either. Didn't go as far as this end. It's more of the lighter reds, lighter oranges, a lot of the yellows, and the browns are a bit lighter compared to this one. It is a pair. They are clearly fraternal. They are definitely not identical twins, but I'm fine with that. They're on my feet. I'm not going to fuss and worry about that. it just makes for interesting conversation if someone actually notices that my socks look different. By the time we're getting to the toes, they're getting a little closer. Up at the top and the cuff, they're definitely different. But it is what it is. I still have, for these I used 60 grams out of the 100 gram skein of yarn. So I have 40 left over. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to either dye an entire skein in a nice dark chocolate brown, like one of the darker shades of the brown here, or like a dark reddish brown. Either do it as an entire hank of yarn and do it up as like a tonal, or divide it up into maybe 20 or 25 gram mini skein of yarn and dye that the dark brown. Then what I plan on doing is I will do them 2 at a time, magic loop, but I will start at the toe, and I plan on using the dark brown that I still have to dye. So this is down the road quite a ways. So I will do the toes, the heels, and the cuff in the darker brown. And then the rest of it, I will do 2 at a time, so from opposite ends of the cake of yarn, the leftover 40 grams. And I will knit until I run out of yarn. And then I will do a cuff in the darker brown. And that way I'll use up the entire hank of autumn yarn. And I expect that those two will be a little bit closer to matching, but not quite. Because as we see, I guess the toes are getting a little bit closer, a little bit more similar in color. There's still some difference between them. So it just makes for a fun pair of socks. But that's what my plan is to do with that leftover 40 grams of the autumnal yarn that I dyed. So I will do those up. I'll dye up that brown probably sometime this month. I wouldn't mind getting the second pair of autumn socks done in October when it's still autumny? Is that a word? But I have other things that I'm working on as well, so I don't want to have too many whips. And excuse me, by the end of this week I will have 2 large whips that I'm going to be working on. So I don't know if I want to add a pair of socks in there, although a pair of plain stockinette socks might be handy to work on, just to give my brain and give that a rest from knitting. So that's my finished object, my sort of shorty vanilla autumn socks, and I love them. I'm excited. I want to wear them. I'll probably wear them tomorrow now that I've shown them off all nice and neat like. I'll take a couple pictures of them to put on my Ravelry page, and then they're going on my feet. I think I'll wear them to church tomorrow. I also have a swatch. I don't frequently do swatches. I know it's not the best strategy for knitting, especially when I'm making things that I plan on having them fit when I'm done. So I'm hoping that, like, I know with socks, I know what my gauge is on socks, so I don't need to swatch. I know the size of needles and the type of yarn I use. I know what size, I know what my gauge is on that, so that's fine. Sweaters, I'm probably taking a bit of a gamble that I don't really do a decent swatch for making a sweater, because that's using up a decent amount of yarn and a lot of hours of knitting. But for the swatch I made is for the Twists and Turns Mystery Knit Along, or Westknit Mystery Knit Along for 2022. The pattern for that is the first clue for that one is coming out on October 6th. so on Thursday. I have no idea what time of the day it's coming out. I don't know if it's going to come out very first thing on the 5th or the 6th of October Amsterdam time, or when. I don't know. I'll find out on the 6th when the clue has come out. So I didn't so much do the swatch to make sure my gauge was going to be spot on, because I have plenty of yarn. If the shawl comes out a little bit too big or a little bit too small, I have enough yarn to work with that. And I'm not as fussed about the size being super specific, and it has a shawl's going to fit. And it's a Stephen West shawl, so it's quite likely going to be large anyway. So I was more interested in doing the swatch to see how my colors played together. He recommended that if we're doing a swatch to just do it in garter and do a couple rows in back and forth, a couple rows in your two main colors. So for this pattern, it calls for 200 grams each of two main colors and 100 grams of an accent color. So I ordered, I've talked about this a bit before, I showed you the yarn before, and did an unboxing, all that stuff for this. So the yarn I'm using is Whole Super Soft, and I'm using it in the colors Larkspur and Flannel Gray are my two main colors, and Opal is my third color, the accent color. So he recommends doing a couple rows in the two main colors, and then every once in a while just throw in a row or two in garter stitch of the accent color, and then do a few blocks in like 4 rows of garter stitch in the two main colors, and again throwing in a couple of the accent color rows here and there just to see how the colors play together. And so I did that, and then once I was finished with that, I also, yeah, this is the right side. No, this is the right side. Good grief. Garter stitch, I don't always know which is the right and wrong side of it. Once I had finished knitting it, unblocked, it hit gauge, or it was very close to the stitch gauge. So once it blocks, it's likely going to grow a little bit, and I'm okay with that. So without further ado, so again, this is not blocked, so it's kind of see-through. But once it's washed and blocked out, the fabric will be, the yarn will fluff up and plump up a lot more. So that's what it looks like. Now again, the main color starting at the bottom, that is Larkspur, and then Gray Flannel, and then the light blue is Opal. So I like the way these colors play together. The two main colors, there's not a huge amount of contrast between them, but I'm okay with that. I like the way they look together. I really like the way those colors are playing together. And I love the light blue pop. I think that just really pops off the fabric. So from a distance, maybe the contrast isn't that extreme, but I think it'll be okay. And it'll look a lot different once I blocked it and soaked it, got all the spinning wheels off the yarn. It'll be good. So I did a swatch, but again, it wasn't as much to check my gauge as to see how the colors played together. And I'm happy with the way the colors are playing together. So that pattern, again, as mentioning, it comes out on October the 6th, so it's only a few days away. I'm just so excited for this new pattern to come out. Really excited for it. I really enjoy doing the Westknit mystery shawls. I don't always 100% love the shawl when it's finished, but that's fine. I enjoy, in all honesty, I really am quite a process knitter versus a project knitter. I love the process of knitting. That gives me so much satisfaction, just sitting there and just creating whatever it is. I love the process of knitting. So so I had my finished object, a swatch, and I've got some progress on a work in progress. Progress on a work in progress. And that is my Rachel top. This is a pattern by Veronica Joby. I think it's pronounced Joby. I'm going with Joby. I hope I'm okay. I hope I'm not too far off on that pronunciation. So since I saw you last, I had completed the border, or the bottom, and I had done one full repeat of the pattern. Since then, I've done almost two more full repeats. I have one more round to go, and I will have done a total of 3 repeats altogether. There's a long way to go until I get to where we split for the arms and the sleeves on here, but I'm really enjoying this knit. It's pretty straightforward. It has 2 rows that you have to pay attention to what you're doing with your stitches, but it's not complicated. It's not a complicated pattern to remember the details on it, and a lot of it is just plain stockinette in between the rows where you have the 2 rows where you have specific pattern to follow. So it's working up sort of quickly, if you call that sort of quick. It's a lot of stitches all the way around. I've done 2 decrease rounds on the side panels. Hang on, where is that? So the side panel is done in a broken, I think it's a broken rib. And you decrease every 2 stitches every certain number of rows. So those side panels under the arm are going to gradually taper down until you no longer have the side panels and it's just the pattern stitching only. So I am enjoying this project. I'm planning on that's all I'm going to be working on between, ouch, I just stabbed myself. That's all I'm going to be working on between now and when the Westknits mystery shawl comes out on Thursday. So I'm hoping to get a fair bit more done on it. I'm hoping. Hopefully by the time you see me in another week, I'll have at least a decent chunk more done on the body. As I said, it doesn't take long to do, relatively speaking, it doesn't take long to do each repeat of the pattern. It's just a lot of stitches all the way around for the size I'm making. So I'm using Loops and Threads Wool-like. So this is a light fingering weight yarn. There's a ton of yardage, something like 678 yards per skein. This color is, I thought I saw a color written down on here somewhere. Did I make that up? Teal Lake. So the name of this color is Teal Lake. She's upside down. And I'm enjoying it. Oh, seriously, there's a knot in here. Oh man. I hate that. I hate when that happens. Nuts. Anyway, 2 more ends to weave in. I'll deal with that later. I just noticed that now. So, and I'm also using 3.5 millimeter needles, or US size 4. And that's the same for the Westknits mystery shawl. The recommended needle size and gauge were at a 3.5 millimeter or US 4. I hit gauge with that unblocked, but so again, that'll change a bit once it's soaked and blocked. But I'm using the same size needle for both of those projects. So that's my knitting. I had a fair bit of knitting this week. With my socks, when I saw you last, I was just at the point where I was a little bit of the way down the gusset decreasing. So I did all the way down the foot, finished the gusset decreasing, and worked all the way down the foot on the pair of socks this past week as well. So I'm happy with all the progress I made this week with my knitting. And upcoming, like I said, upcoming this week, I want to get a bunch more done on the Rachel top and get started on the mystery knit along. So that's the plans for the upcoming week. I got a twitch in my eye. Anyway, so you may have noticed that I've had 2 videos posted today. This month of October, I am going to be participating in Vlogtober. And it's basically a challenge to myself to do a vlog every single day throughout the month of October. And I've done it twice before. I seem to do these every 2 years. I did not do it last year. I did it in 2020, and I also did it in 2018. So I posted a little introductory video about that this morning, and I've filmed little snippets here and there during the day today, which I will have posted either late tonight or probably early tomorrow morning. So activities that happen on the 1st of October, I will post early on the morning of the 2nd. So one of the things that I'll have some video footage on the vlog, but of some of the things we did this afternoon. But we went early, or late morning, early afternoon. There was a large market, they call it a fall market, all up and down Main Street in our town, and that's just right out front. I can still see a couple of see them taking down one of the last little easy up canopy thingies. They're taking that down, taking one of them down now, so I can see this from part of it out of my window. But we waited until there was a bit of a break in the rain, and we went out and took a look around at all the different vendors that were there. Sadly, a bunch of vendors, I don't want to say chickened out, but backed out of this because the weather's stinky today. The weather's really not nice today at all. And there were nowhere near the crowds. In previous years, it's always a huge crowd of people that come out to check this out. And usually it's just stall after stall after stall, covering like 2-3 blocks, both sides of Main Street. They shut down, they put barricades up, and this part of Main Street is blocked to traffic. So it was a lot of fun. I feel sorry for all the vendors out there because the weather was not nice. So it really wasn't that conducive to having a really, really good day out there. I did get my little flowers. That'll be the last bouquet of little flowers, the mini bouquet. It'll be the last one I'll get this season. When I was chatting with the lady that sells the flowers, when we were leaving, she was like, well, I'll have a nice winter and we'll see you in the spring. So that's my last one until the spring rolls around again. But they're so cute. I just love these little bouquets. And these ones are set up, it has like a little suction cuppy thing on it. So you could, in theory, stick it onto your window. I'm just afraid that it's going to let go and come crashing to the floor, and then I'm going to have flour and glass and water everywhere. So I just use the little, it's like a little salt shaker. They literally are like the size of a decent sized little salt shaker. So I'm just going to put it on my desk over, or on a little cabinet beside my desk, so that I can look at it all through the week until the flowers have faded on me. But so we looked around it. So I got those, my baby bouquet, last one for the year, which kind of makes me sad. Because I really do love those little bouquets. We also bought a couple cookies and a cinnamon bun. It was a huge cinnamon bun, so we're going to share it probably for dessert tonight. Have the cookies probably dessert tomorrow night. What else did we buy? I think that was the majority of what we got at the market. We had lunch. They had a group that was selling beef brisket sandwiches, like in a bun, or Italian sausage with fried onion and peppers in it. So I had one of the Italian sausage, and hubby had the beef brisket, and they were both really good. And then we were looking around, and we went past the public library, and my husband was saying that, he said, oh, they're having a book sale in there. He said, let's go check that out. And I'm like, you had me at book sale. So in we went. The hardcovers were $2, paperbacks were $1. And so I went looking through, thinking, it's like, they don't often have, it's a small book sale. It's just they have it set up in one room where it's usually books that they're getting ready to discard. They just keep adding to it, and I think it's a fairly regular, ongoing thing. So I went looking through all the books, and I found this one. I have wanted this book for some time. I've seen patterns from it, and it's got a lot of really neat sock patterns in here. I'm not sure if the camera's picking that up very well. I don't think I'm exposing any detail that I shouldn't. So there's a selection of a bunch of different socks. And I've seen things with this book before, and I've always thought it looked like a really good book. And for $1, I'm happy with that. So, and then I got home and I looked on my bookshelf to make sure I didn't already own it. As we know, I've bought books that I already owned before. So I don't own this one yet, so that was a good thing. So that was good. And what else? I think that's about it. Cute little baby flowers. A finished object, a swatch, and some decent progress on my other work in progress. So the single work in progress now, so I'll be monogamous on that until Thursday. And my new book, a new to me book. So I'm excited to look through and see if there's any patterns in there that I want to cast on. Of course there's going to be patterns in there I want to cast on. Who am I kidding? Anyway, so I'll be posting I'll post this will go up later on today. So there'll be 2 videos from me up on my channel today. And then the plan is for the Vlogtober videos, there will be one, the plan is for one each and every day of the week, or each and every day throughout the rest of October. I'm hoping that the videos are going to be between 5 and 10 minutes. Maybe I'm going to try to keep them under 10 minutes. I don't really want them to be really long, drawn out things. There will be some knitting content in there. There will be all sorts of stuff. There's probably going to be stuff like some cooking stuff, what we made for supper, different outings that we go on. I think later this month I'm hoping we can go and explore a corn maze. We might go to a couple fruit stands. There's like an apple orchard not too far from us, and go and look at what they have in their shop with all the different fruit and veggies and all the fall stuff there. Just all kinds of things like that. So it's just going to be like general life things. On Monday I'll probably film a bit with my view from the classroom. I'll wait until the following week, when usually my husband and I carpool to work together. He drops me off and he goes to work, and then he comes back and picks me up and we head home together. He's out of town for a couple days this week coming up, so I have to drive myself to work. So when he's back to driving me to work next week, I'll videotape a little bit of the drive to work and stuff like that. So just all kinds of little things like that I'm planning on videotaping for you guys and showing you. So I think that's about it. It's probably about time to stop talking. I never really seem to have trouble finding things to talk about. Anyways, you probably are getting bored out of your trees already. So I shall let you go, and I will see you on my vlog again tomorrow morning, and I'll be back for another regular podcast on Saturday. Alrighty, take care, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.